it is a professional that needs to be done with a lot of care, with a lot of responsibility, and people need to know that yes, art can be therapeutic, but art therapy and to do a therapy from an art therapist is very different. And we are professionals that we are constantly working ourselves to do our best in the setting.
Hello, everyone. I'm Daniel Ospina. I'm an art therapist, and I'm here with a friend of mine that I happen to know from college. Her name is Lívia, and I would like her to introduce herself. Thank you very much for accepting this interview, and yes, I'm delighted to have you here in this channel.
I thank you very much, my friend. It was a pleasure to be here. So, hello everyone. My name is Lívia. I am an art therapist, and as Daniel mentioned, we met in college doing the art therapy course. But first of all, I'm Brazilian, and I am a psychologist. I did my graduation in psychology in Brazil, not in Ireland. I graduated as a psychologist in 2014. After that, I practiced in Brazil. I did a residency in hospital. I did some art therapy course there too. And in 2019, I moved to Ireland. And in 2023, I also finished my master's in art therapy here in Ireland. So I am a psychologist and art therapist, but in Ireland, I practice just as an art therapist.
Hey, Lívia, how would you describe art therapy to someone that hasn't heard about it before?
Well, for me, art therapy is a way, it's a form of psychotherapy that use artistic expression as a way to communicate with the client. So here is a way of therapy that is aligned to work with mental health issues and that promotes growth, that promotes well-being. So it's very important to for me to highlight that is a way of therapy that work with mental health. That's a psychotherapy form that use artistic expression because I think it plays art therapy in a very important uh, way that it's not a joking, it is not something that everyone can do. You need to have like a properly formation. You need to do a properly course to be an art therapist. And so it's not use art in any way, but it's using art to promote well-being, is art to deal with mental health and promote the good for the client.
And yes, thank you very much for mentioning about the a form of psychotherapy, because for sure people know that making art or doing art as such can have therapeutic outcomes, but it's
Yeah.
not therapy. So you already said that, Livia. Thank you for that explanation, because sometimes people don't understand quite well what's the difference between having therapeutic outcomes or
Yes.
art for the sake of feel better, but now with this form of psychotherapy that has all of the things that you have mentioned already. Uh,
Exactly.
Thank you, Livia. I think that was one of the things that I found kind of very interesting having you as a friend and as a classmate as well, because art therapy is linked to the field of psychology, and you already had that background. So I think that that was a very kind of nice combination, you know. Uh,
Yes, I do think it was really special. It was very good to have this background in psychology. Although during my years studying the college for psychology, we didn't have like a special subject just for art therapy, but it was good to have the grounding for the psychological theoretical part. So I knew when I came to the masters in art therapy, I already knew names such as Jung, um, Freud. I say the psychoanalyst because it's the mostly one that were mentioned in the art therapy course. But it's good because as the course here, as the masters in art therapy, focus more on a kind of psychoanalytical approach. It was good for me to have now also another approach, so I can after explore more like another approach in art therapy that are not just psychoanalytical, as I have this base from my psychology years.
What can you tell us about your interest in mental health?
Wow. I feel
Art and mental health. Yeah.
after mental health. When I was doing my graduation in psychology in Brazil, Uh, I think mental health was a big subject that I really got interest. Like we had many fields, let's say, in Brazil, like the scholar field, the health field, and have an approach just focusing in mental health related to some specific services in Brazil that it is for people who has some chronic mental health issues such as chronic depression, schizophrenia, and there is a type of service that provides a care that brings a philosophy that is totally against what was the care in the psychiatric hospitals. So it's a day service that the people can come along. They have spent the day there, and they have many therapeutic workshops. So it was there in this mental health service that I saw many workshops using art, using music, use dance. And that's my first contact with art and mental health. And I got so fascinated because I saw many clients who was really struggling, who was in a active crisis of schizophrenia, and that type of care of service that was not just speaking, because at that moment it have a verbal communication that was easy to understand was a struggle for them and for the professionals. So offering another type of media for them to express themselves was really, really powerful. So that was when I was like, wow, that's amazing to use art as an approach to address mental health issues. But I didn't have the word art therapy at that time. It was just my meeting between art and mental health. And a few years later, I was finding out about art therapy, and then that's I need to go for that.
Could you recall that moment when you said, "Oh my God, this is art therapy. There is actually a field, and I'm going to do this."
Yes.
Yeah.
I was already I had finished already my psychology course, and I was doing a hospital residence, and it was a struggle for me sometimes to have like the psychotherapy approach that you just talk with some inpatients, because sometimes they couldn't um talk because they have like many machines in their mouth, or they are very debilitated, or they are shy to speak. And I was saying that I was using more and more art, and it was working well with some people, not with everybody, but with some people it was working well. And I remember I met one person that was working that mental health service that I mentioned before. We met in an event, I think, and then she was like, "Oh, how are you doing?" And I told her that was fine, but was finding very difficult the beginning of my career as a psychologist, because I was struggling to have just the verbal communication as the only way to approach the clients. I was feeling a bit lost. I was in doubt if what I was doing was psychology or not. And then she told me, "Have you ever heard about art therapy?" And I'm like, "What? What is that?" And then she mentioned that she had done the specialization before in Brazil. And more than that, She was just going to open the first specialization art therapy course in Aracaju. That was the city that I was living in Brazil. So I was like, wow, tell me just when, and I will apply to do that course. So that was, I started the art therapy course. Like after this conversation, I think 6 months later, she opened it and then started to do the course.
Wow, that's amazing, Lydia. Would you like to tell us about your experience as an art therapy student? I
Okay,
in Brazil or in Ireland. Yeah.
yeah. I feel there was two different but very good experiences in Brazil. It was not a master's character, it was a specialization. So I felt it was very practical, but so we have many workshops. I learned to use many medias because, well, I think it's very good that my background is in psychology, what give me a very good how can I say, theoretical base, but as I'm not an artist,
Mhm.
so I don't know how to use sometimes many artistic images, and that's the plus that the people who comes from an artistic background can have. So it was a very experiential moment for me to learn, and not to learn properly technical because I still figuring out many things, but to explore. So to use with your clients, you need to at least have some intimacy with the art materials. So it was a very good moment during my student experience in Brazil to explore how to use those medias, like melting crayons on candles,
Yeah.
music of powder, like all the different things that I have never imagined, and that was so good, so fun.
Yeah.
We also discussed some theories too, and I also saw a lot of young, that's something that so also in Ireland. So in Brazil, my feeling now, what I remember, because it's has been almost 10 years, that it was very a practical course. It was my first contact with art therapy,
Mhm.
main workshops. And in Ireland, I felt it was I had more embodied the some clinical aspects of it. I felt in Brazil it prepared me to do some art therapy workshops with group. Of course, with clients you can adapt, and I was using one-on-one client. But for example, in Ireland they had the groups, the students groups, we had the supervisions, we have therapeutic groups with ourselves as
Yes.
client students. And it was a very good experience because I was not just in the role of someone learning to facilitate, but I felt in the course a good plus that I was in a place sometimes as someone as a client in somehow, when I was doing the therapeutic group, so I could feel in the skin of the client what could work, what could not work.
Yeah.
So it was very valuable. And so in the masters in art therapy in Ireland, it was 2 years full time. We are the crazy ones who chose to do the full time. I do not recommend. I think it was better to do it
The
slowly.
platform said, I don't recommend that like full time.
It is treated. Well, if you choose not to have a life, you can go for full time. But if you want to have a bit of life, it's better to do part.
Yes, because it can be very intense, very demanding. Yeah. Yeah.
Very demanding, very demanding. And even to integrate everything that they they were teaching us there, I think it's good to go slow. But well, saying that, as an international students, I don't know if you had a choice, but me, I didn't have the choice to go slowly. As an international student, I could just enroll the full-time course.
Lívia, now what can you tell us about your clinical practice?
So in Brazil, Uh, I I was not in my clinical practice. I was working as a psychologist, and when I finished the specialization, I was adding the art therapy techniques in my clinical practice too. But it was a bit mixed, Like I was working mainly as psychologist, and when I saw that there is an opportunity to use some artistic approach
Yes.
I was using. So I consider that my transition period,
Mhm.
working psychologist and adding some art therapy techniques when I found that it could be beneficial for the client and when the client was open to it. And I feel that my clinical practice as just art therapist started to grow here because I didn't validate my diploma as a psychologist here. I just worked as an art therapist. So in our masters here, both of us, we did our clinical placements. That's where our practice, our clinical practice as an art therapist started to born. My first year I did in an institution working with older persons and adults with intellectual disabilities. And it was amazing. I really loved the experience. I chose the public, so it was very good because I was looking forward to that. I think it was a bit of that story I told you in the beginning of that mental health service in Brazil that was offering those workshops. I think it was a bit of that seed of that experience there, and I'd like to work with more intellectual disabilities, but staying in the mental health path.
Yes.
So it was amazing. The experience there was offering one-on-one
Mhm.
sessions to the clients, and most of them engaged very well, each one in their different ways, but I consider that it was very, very rich, the experience. And then in my second year, I did a clinical placement working with children in a scholar, in an educational setting. So I was working in a school with children. They are usually from 4 to 7, no, 4 one-on-one sessions once with kids from 5 to 7. And then for first time I did a group. It was amazing experience. And was with children from 9 to 12. And it was very, very good experience. So in summary, I had the clinical experience with older adults and with intellectual disabilities and with children in a scholar setting. And after that, after my graduation, I have been exploring to work with art therapy online. I did a few online sessions with a person that lives here in Ireland as an art therapist, and I'm also experiment facilitating some art therapy workshops
Mhm.
too, so with groups of kids. So it's been an experiment, but it's been very, very good.
And Livia, how can you describe Livia's style in her clinical practice?
I feel the theoretical approach that I use, they are mostly humanistic ones. So art therapy, Gestalt art therapy approach mostly. That was because I was guiding myself through Gestalt therapy as a psychologist. So and there is a huge work of Gestalt therapy related to art therapy too, but also in your main orders humanistic approach. And I feel that I'm very flexible. I like extra tours, saying that saying that I'm flexible, that's me. I have an extra tour. So usually I like the setting well organized. I have an idea based in what the client brings to me. I have an idea what I can suggest if he doesn't take the initiative to to choose something. But I think I'm very open to what happened in the setting, very fluid with the movement that the client brings. So it's very client-centered approach. So following the needs of the clients and what the clients brings to the setting. And also, I feel there is this um, interest of mine to try to understand what happened in the setting, or if some neuroscience finds.
Yeah.
So, what these materials or these techniques can, which area of the brain it's related to. So it's an area that I'm exploring too, but that's fascinating, especially if because it's now that well we said that no, we finished the master's just to demand I just need a break, but now I'm thinking, what can I study the next? No, 1 year of break, it's enough, and I'm really interested to explore more, maybe a course of art therapy in our neuroscience
Yes.
and autism or brain injuries field. I think that's very fascinating. But yeah, my style is very client-centered approach, and I guide myself in some humanistic approach.
Thank you very much, Lívia. And how can people find you?
I think the easiest way, I'm growing a page with very much love, where I can, the propose is to advocate and to spread the words about art therapy. It is half in English, half Portuguese. So it's a work in progress. And it is on Instagram, and the name is Pílulas Criativas. On Instagram, on Pílulas Criativas.
Yeah.
Everyone can find me. And just let you know, I am a member of the IACAT, that is the Association for the Art Therapists in Ireland. So as a member, I'm insured to work with people as an art therapist. I'm insured to work with people here in Ireland, but also in Portugal, for example. So if there is any Brazilian or any other nationality who is in Ireland or Portugal who wants to perhaps do online or face-to-face sessions with me, you can just send me a message on the Instagram.
You would like to add anything else to the interview?
Oh, I would like to thank you for this interview. It was really a pleasure to talk with you. And it's very good for us to spread the word about what it is art therapy, how beneficial can be art therapy, like um how and it is an extensive area. Like it's not just for children, it is not just for people who has disabilities. Although I worked a lot in that field, art therapy is for everyone. If you feel that creative um, media can be a way that you can express yourself, so art therapy can be for you too. So it's for adults, it's for the older persons, it's for everyone. And the art therapy is really based on scientific approach. So it's an area that as we did all these courses, like 2 years of our life, we spent and we invested there. I feel that it shows that it is a professional that needs to be done with a lot of care, with a lot of responsibility, and people need to know that yes, art can be therapeutic, but art therapy and to do a therapy with an art therapist is very different. And we are professionals that we are constantly working ourselves to do our best in the setting.
We are under supervision, we are insured, and we have all those theoretical elements and also the tools to make research, as you said as well. So it's a serious field, yeah, with lots of
Exactly.
responsibility because we are working with the mental health of people. So it seems, Livia, that Ireland is recognizing more and more this field, and there is a lot of support, for example, in the schools and probably in other settings, how to implement these services in the schools as an ongoing service. which is very important.
Actually, I feel the same. I feel that is an area that's being recognized more and more. That I think, and that's what we're doing here. I think it is important, you know. So, how many people they don't know art therapy or they have a wrong idea of what art therapy it is, you know? So, it's just for children. I don't know how to draw. I'm not a Picasso. I even don't have an artistic background, and I'm an art therapist because the most important of the art therapy is the expression. So the art media, the art materials there is to facilitate our expression, not to block us. So, and that's important, the invitation, just to try something new. And that's so good for our brain when you try something new. And the benefits are very, very good.
Okay, Livia, thank you very much. It has been a pleasure and an honor to have you here in this channel, Livia. If people are interested already into contact and to get your services, they already know where to contact you. And wishing you all the best, Livia, and I hope to see you back in the channel eventually again.
Oh, yeah, please.
Best wishes, Livia. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
And just send an email or in sorry. What do you call la cajita de contenido?
You need to make the making of the interview.
The bloopers.
Oops.
Okay. I'm going to say it again.